The following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
Yeah! Go Cowboys! This is Media Mash,
A roundtable of Cowboys insiders
dropping wisdom
and offering sizzling takes
on the current state of your Dallas Cowboys.
Now, your host,
Newy Scruggs.
Media Mash. Let's ride. With Clearence Hill, the Fort Worth Star-Telegram. Jon Machota of The Athletic. I am merely Newy Scruggs to help direct the conversation. Okay, gentlemen, a lot of NFC East news happening since we last met. Daniel Snyder is going to get rid of the Washington Commanders for $6 billion. I'm so old, I remember when they approved him.
Right.
It was during a owners meeting in which L.A. and Houston were vying to try to get expansion franchises. And out walks this little guy. And they're like, hey, he just got the Washington franchise for $800 million. So $6 billion. And then in Philadelphia, Jalen Hurts has a new deal, 5 years, $255 million, $179 million of that guaranteed. And this is something all Cowboy fans need to pay attention to because Dak Prescott is at some point in time going to have to get extended as well. So our thoughts about Jalen Hurts go, sir.
Good for Jalen Hurts. I mean, here's a guy, and everybody knows his story, benched at Alabama for Tua in a championship game, transferred to Oklahoma, remade himself as a quarterback, picked in the second round by the Eagles, struggled as a starter, came into last season where people didn't know if he had a future. And it was a question that he has to prove himself. And one reason why most people pick the Cowboys over the Eagles because the questions about the Eagles at quarterback, and for him to have the year he did, run up the MVP, take his team to the Super Bowl, Pro Bowler, All-Pro, all of that, and to get paid his first year, bravo to him.
I agree with all that. I was just going to add that I think it's the offseason that they had a year ago. I think a deal like this will make it more difficult to do those off seasons going forward. Howie Roseman's great about adding talent, trades, things like that, signing guys. When you pay your franchise quarterback money like that, it's going to limit some of those moves. You aren't going to be able to have another offseason like that. So they do have a lot of draft capital, though. I'm not saying that. I mean, this Eagles team is certainly there, but it's going to make it more difficult for them to maneuver a little bit. But yeah, if you're a Cowboys fan, this is big. Like I tweeted out, and I know you did too, about how this impacts Dak contract, and you get people talking about no, it doesn't. He hasn't been to a Super Bowl. That doesn't really matter. It's just the next in line. And I wanted to bring up this because I knew we would talk about it because I'm interested to hear your guys' take on this. I understand that some people look at it and every day that goes by, they'll be like, yeah, no extension for Dak, whatever. I kind of look at it from if I'm Dak and I see that, I'm like, no, let's just wait this out. I want to see Herbert sign. I want to see Joe Burrow sign. I want to see Lamar Jackson sign. Let this keep going up. I'm not necessarily telling my agent, hey, we need to look. He got $51 million a year. I'm at 40 right now. I want to get 52. No, I would be like, no. I'll play through this season. Let's see what happens because that market's just going to get crazier and crazier. You don't think Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert, they don't see 51 and they're like, I need 51. No, they see 51. They're like, I need 55. So this is just the beginning of it.
No doubt. But, I do like the fact that Nicole Lynn, shout out to Nicole Lynn, Hurts agent, University of Oklahoma, Delta, first black agent, female agent to sign the first female agent to sign a massive deal like this, richest contract ever signed by a female agent. Shout out to her. But they worked quietly. There was no talk. There was no, hey, we're starting negotiations. Hey, we're back and forth. Bam! This morning, deal done.
Yeah, but I think with all that stuff, it's credit to both sides. And stuff
no,
like
I agree. I meant credit to both sides.
Yeah.
And maybe that's, I know when we talked to Stephen at the owner meeting, that's what he wants to do. He doesn't want a public negotiation. Tomorrow.
Can that happen, though?
It may happen tomorrow, right?
Can that happen, though?
With the Cowboys, because Jerry likes to talk.
That's what I was just going to say.
It never happened. But getting back what you're saying, because I've had people tell me, and I talked to another reporter, well, I'm not paying Dak until he takes the NFC Championship game. It's like, so if Hurts never goes back to the Super Bowl, is the contract worth it?
Well, obviously not. But most of these contracts aren't when you look back on it. Whoever the best players are, you look back and they're getting paid for what they've done already.
I'm talking about the Cowboy fans, the people that put these arbitrary, you can't get paid unless you go to the Super Bowl or you go to the championship game.
Right.
That's ridiculous.
We heard these things about Tony Romo. And people were trying to put these calls. Well, when Eli went to 2 Super Bowls, Eli did, no, this is not how it works. I'm sorry, guys.
Well, because it's not a one-man thing.
Right.
Number one.
This is like the housing market in Beverly Hills, and I used to drive by Beverly Hills all the time. And guys, I never saw a sign that said liquidation. Never saw a sign that said 20% down. No, they all used it for sale, and it was going to prices just went up and up and up because it was Beverly Hills, okay? And they weren't going to be able to make any more Beverly Hills. We're going to extend it. You wanted a house here, you had to pay the freight. You want a quarterback, and you have a good quarterback, you're going to pay the freight. And one of the things I consistently say to people, if Kirk Cousins keeps getting paid, everybody else going to get paid.
So, well, that's the thing. Like you talk about the housing market in Beverly Hills, there's just a large number of people that make really good money in Southern California that if they can afford to live there, they're going to live there. And they're not going to be short on those options. Whereas the quarterback market, there's 32 NFL teams. There's not 32 franchise quarterbacks. Nope. There might not be 20 franchise quarterbacks. And so when you have one, then you're just in that game that like, well, and when it comes up, hey, no one's forcing you. Don't pay him. Don't pay him, and then see what happens. Then go find your next guy. See what happens.
And he will get paid by somebody else. I like the other market analogy because you live in Colleyville, right? You know the difference between the houses in South Lake and the houses in Colleyville.
Yeah.
I mean, you can get the same house in South Lake or in Colleyville, and the money's different. Mm-hmm. You know.
How many minute drive are we talking between the two?
Across the street.
It's very funny.
Across the street.
You've been to Dragon Stadium where South Lake plays? The Grapevine Colleyville Stadium is right. It's across the street.
It's across the street.
It is across the railroad track.
Yeah.
It is literally there.
I'm seriously less than a mile away.
Yeah. No, it ain't even a mile, bro.
I said less than a mile.
I mean, it's not even a quarter mile. You can see it. You can see it.
Yeah.
So,
I just remember when I came down here in like 11. I remember there was like that strike. It wasn't a strike, but it was a little bit of like a lockout. Remember the Cowboys were practicing, like they practiced.
When Mark Colombo told guys, and we're not talking to him, he was like, "What? Bro, you're not even going to be on the team."
Right. Yeah,
but wasn't it at South Lake Stadium?
It was. Yeah, it was at Dragon Stadium.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is, does every quarterback have to be South Lake and some of them be Colleyville?
Hey man, look at that. I just look at these parameters where you have to do X, Y, Z in order to get it, or show me, go to the Super Bowl, then I'll give you what you want. That's not how it works. It's just not how it works.
Yeah.
Hey, Joe Burrow's been to a Super Bowl. Justin Herbert's not. But don't think for any reason that Justin Herbert's not going to get a contract that is very similar to that.
Yeah.
It's just not how it works. Fans don't want to hear that.
Too.
Right. Yeah. Fans just don't want to. They don't want to hear that.
My big thing with all of that is, I always say, is because I'll hear from friends and family that don't follow sports like we do, and they'll see a contract like the Jalen Hurts. I haven't heard anything today, but I'm sure I'll hear from someone. I can't believe they make that much money. Well, at least you get to see what they do. Why do you care if the owner makes more money? The owner's not going anywhere. So why wouldn't you want someone that's on the field making the money? Like that's my whole thing about like why do you care that he's making all that money? He clearly stepped up his game. Last year going into the season, that was the biggest difference. That's why most people picked the Cowboys to win the division was because they got Dak. He's better than Jalen Hurts. That's what it comes down to. Better quarterback. Jalen Hurts considerably improved his game. Now he had a lot of talent around him, but he considerably improved his game. And you look at the Super Bowl and the way he played even in that game. He's arguably the MVP. He did.
No doubt. And just to piggyback on what you said, I know we're going to get on to Washington in a minute, but it is funny because fans, working class people, were all saying, "You have to earn this. You have to, earn this." What did Dan Snyder earn? Going from $750 million to $6 billion.
800.
I'm
800 million to 6.
I'm from Detroit. You don't need to tell me about people owning franchises.
And running it down.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a lesser franchise now
It had a list of people trying to get season tickets. Yeah. Had a waiting list.
Right.
The stadium is horrible. Everything else. He makes $6 billion.
There's tarp on the stadium.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. Every time I stopped going. After the last time we were there, and I got rained on the press. I was like, I'm not going.
But but that just points you that people, fans, you Cowboy fans, will side with owners, side with franchises over players, over money. All the time.
And I could even understand if you're siding with them if, let's say, you're in the middle of the Brady Belichick dynasty in New England, you're like, no, I'm going to go with what Belichick and what the front office is doing because they're going back to Super Bowls constantly. What franchise is really doing that? And to your point, they're all making money. Washington, Detroit, they're not doing anything positive, and they're just printing money over there, right?
Nobody.
And they're not doing anything that makes you think like, oh, well, look at the good work they're doing. They should be making more money.
Yeah, they're putting somebody's well, Dak doesn't have anybody to push him. People are questioning his work ethic.
Yeah, that is wild.
I mean, it's like he just no one's pushing him, and he just. You can say what you want about his game. You should not be questioning his desire to win and his work ethic.
Go back to Romo when they'd see him golfing. He should be working on football.
All of that.
He never missed the offseason workouts. Tony was always here. But this is the fan base that is here for the Cowboys. And then there's that fan base that no matter who's the quarterback, they're not happy with the quarterback. I mean, I go back to when I got to cover the team and people were mad at Troy Aikman. I mean, even after he won Super Bowls, people were still just unhappy. But this whole premise and what you talked about, Clarence, there's a certain section that always wants you to earn what you get. And that's just not how it works. The quarterback game is if you have one, you're lucky. You don't have many. I kind of go back into baseball. We talk about aces. Got 30 teams in baseball. There ain't 20 aces out there. I mean, they're few and far between. And some of the guys will have some warts, whatnot. But if you got a guy that you can give the ball to, you're going to be okay. I feel like the problem for the Cowboys, and we discussed it last year, we were all out there at training camp. This receiving core, not it.
Right.
And they repeated the mistake that they made before they got Amari Cooper. They repeated that mistake. Meanwhile, what did they do in Philadelphia? They went out there and got Jalen Hurts some help. What did they do in Miami? They went out there and they got Tua Tagovailoa some help.
Yeah.
Even when, and I argue this point, even when Peyton Manning was in Indianapolis, go look at the record. What did he consistently do as the general manager? Bill Polian, he kept drafting guys. Reggie Wayne, first-round pick. Anthony Gonzalez, first-round pick. Marvin Harrison, first-round pick. Dallas Clark, a tight end, first-round pick. Then he was putting, when he wasn't drafting weapons like Joseph Adai, the first-round Donald Mitchell, he was drafting offensive linemen. When he went to Denver, what did they do? Hey, here's Wes Welker to go along with Demaryius Thomas. And then they had the big tight end. They kept giving Peyton Manning weapons.
Well, and I'm glad you brought it up because as we go back last offseason when there was the questions about Hurts, because he struggled last year, 2021.
His first year starting.
He struggled in 2021. Yeah. And there was a question about whether he was the future.
Yeah.
They went and gave him weapons. They improved that team around him, and he maximized all of that. And then turned into the big contract. What did the Cowboys do with that? We paid y'all this money. We're going to take weapons away, and now you prove you're worth that money.
Expecting, he'll make them better. No.
That's not how it works.
Well,
and again, it's a great analogy because Dak and Hurts are more alike than Dak and Tom Brady and Dak and Aaron Rodgers.
Dak and Aaron Rodgers. And
so you need to put people around him to maximize it. That doesn't mean he's supposed to get less money, but you're supposed to put people around him to help him maximize his potential as a quarterback.
This was a miscalculation as a management team okay, all right, you want to take away Tyreek Hill? Yeah, Andy Reid knows Patrick Mahomes can go and make other players better.
Exactly.
He can go make Juju Smith. He's that, but they're not that many dudes like that in the game. It's just not.
No.
It's kind of like when the Rangers roll out Jacob DeGrom. There ain't a whole bunch of teams that can sit up here. Yeah, we got one of these. They're very few.
When that guy 4 years, 160, anybody with a brain knows he wasn't Patrick Mahomes. Mm-hmm. And he wasn't going to perform like Patrick Mahomes just because he got a Patrick Mahomes-like deal.
But also, you can't judge what they did with Jalen Hurts with what happened with Dak last year because he got the contract. Jalen Hurts is just getting it now. So, we got to look forward to that. Now,
my point is, though, one point is they're similar. You have to put people around them.
Yeah.
You cannot take weapons away from them.
And that's why
regardless of how much money they make it.
I will say this. I don't know that it was a concerted effort to say, hey, we gave them all this money. Let's take away weapons and not give them anything. I think like you said, it's a miscalculation that they thought they would get more out of Jalen Tolbert. They thought that, hey, during the season, if this doesn't work out, we can make a move for somebody at the trade deadline, like they tried to do for Brandon Cooks, and it didn't work out. And then they were stuck in a spot where they're like, yeah, we messed this thing up. And then now you go out and try and get T.Y. Hilton, you try and go after Odell Beckham, and they miscalculated there. I feel like if it was 100% that they were just like, hey, you're making this, I don't even think you make the Brandon Cooks trade. You just are like, no, Dak will lift it.
And Gallup.
I think they realized that I think, just talking to Stephen Jones last offseason, and you were there at the owners' meeting, he said that can make people better.
Yeah.
He said, we're going to need the quarterback to make areas of the team better because they were less. We talked about them openly having less weapons on offense.
Yeah.
We felt that Dak could make up for it, and that's my. Yes, they started making the trades and doing that stuff during the regular season when I realized that the moves they made weren't working.
Right.
But my point is they went into the season thinking that Dak is going to make up for less weapons, and that's not the way to go.
No, that was not. That was the miscalculation. All right, let's get our first break in here. Do they get a deal done with Dak Prescott this offseason? We'll dive into that next. We'll also get into the draft. Draft's coming up here with Jon Machota of The Athletic, Clearence Hill of the Fort Worth Star-Telegram, and Scruggs. This is the Media Mash on DallasCowboys.com radio.
Todd thought it would be secure to jog in the cheetah savanna. Todd believed the big cat repellent he bought online was reliable. And now, Todd is trying to be faster than this cheetah that can run 80 miles per hour. But the good news is, Todd has AT&T 5G that is fast, reliable, and secure. And he learned the best thing to do is stop running and toss her the backpack with the beef stew. AT&T 5G. Fast, reliable, secure. It's not complicated.
5G requires compatible plan and device. 5G may not be available in your area. See att.com/5G for you for details.
What do you call a group of grown men and women with their faces painted silver and blue who get together every week to share a 3-hour-long ritual of jumping, singing, and toasting Miller Lite in 10-gallon hats while yelling, "How about them Cowboys?" You call it Miller Time in Dallas. Here's to the Cowboys. Here's to the original light beer. It's Miller Time. Celebrate responsibly. 2021 Miller Brewing Company, Fort Worth, Texas.
When you build, you start with the foundation. And home ownership is a foundation of a stable future. The Bank of America Community Home Ownership Commitment has helped over 34,000 people lay the groundwork so far, with up to $10,000 towards your down payment or 3% of the purchase price, whichever is less. The satisfaction of owning your own place can become a reality. Visit bankofamerica.com/homeowner to learn more. What would you like the power to do? Bank of America N.A. Equal Housing Lender. Credit and collateral is subject to approval. Restrictions apply. This is not a commitment to lend.
The season is finally here. For months, we've been gearing up to win. Now it's time for the team that performs on any field. United Ag and Turf. With John Deere zero turns for mowing, compact tractors for loading, mini excavators for digging, Gator utility vehicles for hauling, implements for grading, hay tools for baling. United Ag and Turf. For winning. The official Ag and Turf equipment supplier of the Dallas Cowboys. Visit UnitedAgAndTurf.com for more.
Back to Media Mash.
Here we are on a Monday. Talking Cowboys. Draft is going to be next week. We're doing it with Clearence Hill, the Fort Worth Star-Telegram, Jon Machota of The Athletic. I am Scruggs. All-season program started today. I came down here to earlier podcast I did and saw people out here getting stuff done. And you brought up an omission that I need to think about when I was looking at players.
The first official day of a Cowboys season. This is starting the official start of the new season without Ezekiel Elliott. No Zeke. He's still not with another team, but he's not with the Cowboys, and Dak and everybody else is out here working, getting ready for the new season. This is the day after the Zeke era.
I don't know if you drive around that parking lot.
Huh?
If you drive around the parking lot, he's still here.
You think he's still here?
I'm just saying, like, you look at, they still have all the players' faces up on those light poles and stuff like that. They still have them on. They didn't rush to take any of that stuff down.
They gave the number away, though.
They gave the number.
I'm just saying, we live in an era where a player gets released, and next thing you know, you got 5 people tweeting from Walmart that look in the sale rack. All these jerseys are there already. Like, everything usually happens immediately like that.
It does happen immediately, but yeah, it's. I mean, again, this is off-season change. It's a new day, and this new day is beginning, and obviously Tony Pollard is still rehabbing, but they're moving on. Without Ezekiel Elliott, and the rest of the Cowboys are here, getting ready for the new season, new off-season program, new coaching staff, these altered coaching staff,
new running back coach,
new philosophies, new running backs coach, everything else. Especially, offensively, it's a big deal. Because they're changing a lot of things that they've done in the past, and let's see where it goes.
I do think it's interesting that on social media you've been seeing all these pictures lately from Dak working out at his house, and Ezekiel Elliott's over there. I mean, I know that they're obviously real tight, but it's just you don't see that from a lot of other players when part ways with the team. Usually, especially when you look at those pictures, a lot of them like Simi Fehoko, Jalen Tolbert, other guys that are on the team and things like that. So it's interesting, and it speaks also to, that it wasn't that Dak was like when we saw him at the cancer foundation thing.
He was visibly hurt.
Yeah, that certainly bothered him for sure.
Now nobody follows social media better than Jon Machota, so I'm just want to let the record show. So that you see Brandon Cooks over there. That's what
I
you stopped seeing him, and you seen Zeke in the pictures. You haven't seen Cook. Now, let me know when you see Cooks over there.
I will.
At Dak's house working out. That's what needs to be there. I mean, I love Zeke there, and I think if Zeke had signed with another team, it'd be different. He may not have been there, maybe with his other teammates or something like that, especially on a day like today when most people are starting their off-season programs and getting ready to do that. So Zeke is still, tweeting out his workouts. He's still working out with his trainer.
For sure.
And showing his, he's still spry and got some juice. But let me know when Brandon Cooks is over there at Dak's house.
So let me ask this question because I lived through this one, and it was very interesting how it ended up working out and to the betterment of both players. When the Mavericks allowed Steve Nash to go to Phoenix, so now the team for Dirk is no more Finley. Best friend Nash is gone. Best friend goes and wins the MVP the next 2 years in Phoenix, puts us out of the playoffs. But Dirk became the leader, became the legend he is. But he had to lose his best friend, was not happy with the organization. Heck, the head coach wasn't happy with the organization. When you say Dak is was visibly hurt by him being there, do you think this helps him as he goes on his journey?
Well, I think the difference is that Dak is already the leader here, and I think to a certain extent Dirk was the leader then because he was Nash was great, he was the best friend, but Dirk was the top pick. He was the focal point of the franchise. They were just best friends. And really, Nash didn't come into his own until he left. We didn't know Nash was going to be that player in Dallas. He wasn't that player in Dallas to a certain extent. So I think the dynamics were different. But does this help Dak? Yeah, I think it helps him to a certain extent because I think it makes him hone in. I think it makes him more focused. Not that he, again, I don't question his work ethic or anything like that, but we all could use a little more fire, a little more focus, whatever else. I think this certainly makes him more honed in. He talked about that at the thing we talked about. He talked about, this shows you it's not for long and everything else. And so this makes him more hungry, if there's a word I can say.
The only thing I stop from comparing it to like a Dirk or Lucas situation is, no offense to the Dallas Mavericks, but Dallas Cowboys quarterback. That's like the position that you want to be in all sports. Yeah. Yankee shortstop, Dallas Cowboys quarterback. So at the same time, yeah, you can be upset, but like I can see like a Dirk being upset, especially in today's era, being like, the big talks, if they don't start building something good, Luka's going to want to leave. They could have said at that time, well, hey, you just got rid of Nash, Dirk might want to leave. No one's not trying to be the Dallas Cowboys quarterback. So yes, he could be upset that his friend's gone, but it's not like he's going to be like, all right, when this contract's up, I'm out of here. It's like nobody is doing that. Like everybody wants to be the Dallas Cowboys quarterback. They just do.
And secondly, there's no expectations. I mean, let's be honest.
Right.
I mean, the expectations with the Mavericks, especially at that time when they hadn't ever won anything, they were just happy to be in the playoffs, and everybody was happy to have a team to root for when the Cowboys season was over. Let's go have a good time at reunion. Let's go have a good time at AAC. But the pressure expectations is not nearly the same.
No, but I mean, it is an interesting topic because it is a popular one right now in Dallas, the whole Luka. They're not and it just fascinates me because I'm telling you, is if he's on the Dallas Cowboys, they're not talking about, we better put these pieces because Luka's Luka's not trying to leave the Dallas Cowboys if he's on the Dallas Cowboys.
But this isn't about leaving. It's just about.
Oh, I thought that's where you meant. You don't want to make him upset.
No. He was just talking about.
Yeah,
he was just talking about being frustrated if it's good for him.
Oh, I got you.
To take it to the next level like Dirk did is what he's saying.
Sure.
And I think there's some part of that.
Yeah.
But again,
I think getting this team to a Super Bowl is his biggest motivation. Whatever it takes to get there, he'll be upset, and yes, that's his good friend and things like that. But ultimately, he wants that on his resume that he led the Dallas Cowboys to Super Bowl.
And one other thing is that the reality of the NFL, we all know it's not like basketball. It's not for long. I mean, when quarterbacks play longer than running backs. There was always going to be a time when Zeke was no longer part of this team and Dak was going to still be here. That's always going to be the case.
A shorter shelf life.
Yeah, that day was always coming.
Yeah. you wanted to hop back into Washington.
Yeah, this is bad news for the Cowboys. This is really bad. This is some of the worst news that's happened for the Cowboys in a while. And the reason I say this is because that organization in Washington has been dormant for a long time. And that thing can be quickly turned into a premier franchise again, but with the right ownership. And you don't want that in your division. You want that to be, like you said, man, there were years where they were on the schedule where you're like, I'm not going to Washington. The last thing you want is them to turn back into the Joe Gibbs Washington. Well, Redskins at the time, Commanders now. You don't want that. And if you bring in Magic Johnson, new ownership group that's trying to do things the right way, I don't know the last one was trying to do things the right way, and all of a sudden you get that going, do you want another really good franchise in your division? It's better, as bad as things are on the surface for the NFL to have it, the Daniel Snyder there. You would rather them be in that situation where you're like, yeah, well, we got them on the schedule twice a year. That's perfect.
Yeah, I mean, just because the Eagles, the way they're run, have become the best organization in the East.
Right.
For the last 10, 15 years. Back to the McNabb era when they won those 4 straight titles, no one won back-to-back. I mean, they consistently, the Eagles have been the best team.
Yeah.
Because of the way they're running, because of the way they're
been to 2 Super Bowls, yeah. Well, 3 if you count the other McNabb one, yeah.
All of that, and where are the Cowboys?
Where's Washington?
The talent. Right, and we're watching. My point is,
the Cowboys are the bright, shining star on the top of the hill compared to Washington.
No, but we're saying we already know Washington's trash.
Washington has a brand that can be one of the top teams, and they're performing like the Detroit Lions.
I'm with you. What I'm saying, we already know Washington has been trash. I'm talking about the fact that
but it's not just being trash. I'm saying that they have the chance.
I agree.
They're an organization that couldn't be lifted up to a high level.
I'm agreeing with you that the Eagles have already passed the Cowboys and how they run the organization and success. Now, a well-run Washington has a chance to do that too if the Cowboys don't get on the good foot.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
I don't know what role Magic will have here. If it's like the Dodgers, then that'll be good. But if Magic is involved like he was with the Lakers, then Washington won't be good. Because Magic as an executive, he was not good. Magic Johnson as a head coach was not good.
Yeah.
So
I don't think they're going to let him pick players, but he'll help them get a new stadium, and that's going to be a great start.
I'm looking at Josh Harris, who's with the Sixers and the Devils, and those organizations are good. There's no championships. So we'll see. This is a hard business, no matter who comes in it. It is a hard business, and when you own multiple teams, the interesting thing is how do you manage, because you're talking about now 3 teams in 3 different states. How do you manage it? How do you get it done? Who do you put in place here? The biggest issue for them is really getting a stadium, trying to get back into D.C., to get into RFK, which we all drive by as we go over there to the new place. So there's some financial things that they gotta get to, and let's see how they do it and how the NFL works with them. Nobody in D.C., Maryland, or Virginia wanted to work with Daniel Snyder.
Right, but but now that they have new ownership, they will work with them. I mean, there's been stories about that, and that's the thing about it. Once they will get a new stadium, that's going to happen. It's just a matter of where. And the question is, who's he going to put in place as GM to run his franchises? I mean, you talk about him running, but he has a good GM in Philly. With the Eagles, I mean, with the Sixers, they put it together. They're doing okay.
Who you get the credit to? Morey or Brand or
Morey?
Okay. What's he won in his lifetime?
I mean, everybody can't win, but
I just think it's funny because
you keep thinking that everybody.
I got a graph in my.
I think Daryl Morey's overrated. I just think Daryl Morey's a really overrated guy.
I'm just picturing this graph in my mind with all of. I don't really follow the NHL. So it's in my mind, it's all the MLB teams, all the NBA teams, and all the NFL teams. And you guys are talking about being critical of where Philly's at. Philly at its worst is in the middle of all of that. Washington is so far at the bottom. Even if they get in the middle of the pack and you're the Cowboys, you don't want that. Now every time you play them, it's going to be at least decent. That used to be, I mean, I've covered the team since 2011. I'm going to tell you this right now. Other than that year with where RG3 went off, I never looked at that as ever like, we serious with this? Is this a real rivalry? What a big game. I told my bosses multiple times at the Dallas Morning News that if I could not go to one road game, it was Washington. And they would be like, come on, John, it's a division game. You got to go. I go, it's awful. They suck. Nobody wants to go there. I think those days are gone. I'm not saying that they're going to turn into one of the top teams in the NFL, but if you even get them into just middle of the pack where you're just like, they're a solid run team. I mean, maybe they go to get a Super Bowl team like once every 10, 15 years or something like that. that is tremendously better than what it's been the last 20 years.
We'll see. And I say that having watched the Haslams take over the Browns, and Jimmy Haslam was with the Steelers, as a minority owner with the Steelers, and these people thought, hey, we're going to get a guy who's studied under the Rooneys, and he's going to. It didn't go that way. David Tepper was also a minority owner with the Steelers, and people in Carolina think, "Hey, man, he's been with them, and we'll have good coaches." It hadn't turned out that way. So I just say,
don't you think there's more energy though in DC to get a team going than there would be in Cleveland?
I'm a guy. When you say that, I tamper down expectations because yes, this guy was bad that you had. It can't. I don't.
Historically bad.
Worse, okay, I don't think it'll get worse.
No.
But at the same time, is it going to be just so much better? I mean, Steve Ballmer comes into L.A. and fans are thinking, man, this guy's the richest dude in the world. We're going to have all. The Clippers they're better than
they're the best they've been in my lifetime.
They're the best team in LA right now.
They're better. They're better than they were in the Sterling.
They got their own building. They get their own building.
Right, because the guy at least cares.
Right.
But the winning and the things, it's hard.
Yeah, don't get what I'm saying twisted to thinking that I'm saying that they're about to be one of these top 10 NFL teams. No. I'm saying that even if they're in the middle of the pack, now all of a sudden you're just like, damn, we got 2 games against them where those used to be a layup.
We got to take a break.
It's hard to win. It's hard to win.
Exactly. It's hard to win. All right. We'll chat more. So much to talk about here with Clearence Hill, Jon Machota. I'm Scruggs. This is the Media Mash on DallasCowboys.com.
The season is finally here. For months, we've been gearing up to win. Now it's time for the team that performs on any field. United Ag and Turf. With John Deere zero turns for mowing, compact tractors for loading, mini excavators for digging, Gator utility vehicles for hauling, implements for grading, hay tools for baling. United Ag and Turf. For winning. The official Ag and Turf equipment supplier of the Dallas Cowboys. Visit UnitedAgAndTurf.com for more.
Todd thought it would be secure to jog in the cheetah savanna. Todd believed the big cat repellent he bought online was reliable. And now, Todd is trying to be faster than this cheetah that can run 80 miles per hour. But the good news is, Todd has AT&T 5G that is fast, reliable, and secure. And he learned the best thing to do is stop running and toss her the backpack with the beef stew. AT&T 5G. Fast, reliable, secure. It's not complicated.
5G requires compatible plan and device. 5G may not be available in your area. See att.com/5G for you for details.
This sweet! Did you get to work on time?
Yeah, but I just realized it's Sunday.
Little Sweet says head on home. Dr. Pepper's on its way. So sweet, unique. Baby, there's nothing better. I bet you've probably done something that deserves a Dr. Pepper. Did you invest your nest egg in an NFT?
Yeah, and I don't even know what that is.
It's a non-fungible token. Everyone's done something that deserves a Dr. Pepper.
When you build, you start with the foundation. And home ownership is a foundation of a stable future. The Bank of America Community Homeownership Commitment has helped over 34,000 people lay the groundwork so far, with up to $10,000 towards your down payment or 3% of the purchase price, whichever is less. The satisfaction of owning your own place can become a reality. Visit bankofamerica.com/homeowner to learn more. What would you like the power to do? Bank of America N.A. Equal Housing Lender. Credit and collateral is subject to approval. Restrictions apply. This is not a commitment to lend.
Back to Media Mash.
Billy Scruggs, along with Cowboy Insiders, Clarence Hill, the Footwear Star Telegram. He's Jon Machota of The Athletic. Cowboy offseason program starting today out here at the Star. Got a new play caller. Run the ball more.
What are you doing?
Starting my offseason program, too.
Oh, yeah?
I'm starting my stretches.
Don't hurt yourself, man.
Boy.
Don't hurt yourself, man. Don't hurt yourself.
I mean, it's been an offseason to change. I mean, just starting from that 49ers loss, all the coaching changes, McCarthy getting rid of Kellen Moore and installing himself as a play caller, and it's just from that point on, the trades for Gilmore, the trade for Cooks, the departure of Zeke Elliott. This is a new day. New season for the Cowboys.
I mean, change. The National Football League is about change. It is, and I don't know about you guys. I'd always felt that Mike McCarthy wanted to call plays, but in order to get the job, the Joneses like Kellen Moore, you had to let it ride until you get to the point in time where, hey, man, if it's gonna be, if I'm gonna not be here, I'm gonna be here going down, calling my plays.
Do you trust him as the play caller? Do you trust that they will be better offensively? Because I think the biggest part of the decision is that we are a defensive team. Defense is the best part of our team. We're going to rely on our defense. We're going to get better on defense. We got Gilmore to strengthen this defense.
I honestly don't think they'll be better. I think they'll be close to what they were, and I think that it might pay off some dividends in the playoffs. Maybe I just think of his experience. That's probably a positive when you get to the postseason. But I don't think that Mike McCarthy takes over the offense and all of a sudden you're just like, well, why wasn't Kellen Moore doing all this stuff? Like, it wasn't like it was a bad offense with Kellen Moore. It's not like he's taking over where you're just like, man, this thing was a dumpster fire. They had to move another direction. So I know I'm also one of these people where in pro sports, I probably lean a little bit more towards the players than I do the coaches. Because at the end of the day, like, when you're a Dak Prescott and you've been playing as long as he has, like, you're on the field, you're the one that's got to get it done. You know, you're CeeDee Lamb, you're Zach Martin, you're Tyron. Gotcha. You guys got to get it done. So, you know, he's gonna run plays that are best fit for guys that he's been around for several years now. So I don't know that statistically it'll be a better offense, but I don't think it'll be bad. I think it'll probably be pretty solid. And then at the end of the day, even if they don't win as many games they did last year, it's going to be judged on what they do in the playoffs. And so his experience in a playoff game calling plays, that could be a good thing.
I'm going to go to the Jacksonville game, which we were both, all three of us were at. And so here are the Cowboys up 27-10 in this game. Then Jacksonville gets the ball, 3 plays, they go and score. So now it's a 21-17 game. Cowboys get the ball back. 2 plays, 8 yards, 1 minute and 4 seconds off the clock. Jacksonville gets the ball back, touchdown in 4 plays. Cowboys get the ball, 3 plays, 4 yards, 2:06. Jacksonville gets the ball back, touchdown. Now they're up 31-27. Cowboys get the ball. They go 13 plays, 75 yards, 7 minutes and 7 seconds. They're now in the lead, 34-31. Cowboys get the ball. Jacksonville gets the ball. They fumble it. All right, they fumble the ball, and Dallas is up 34-31. And then what do the Cowboys do with that? Because at that point in time, you and I are down there together thinking, okay, they got this done.
Yeah.
3 plays, no yards, 27-second drive. And then, of course, we know Jacksonville went down there, got the field goal, then they won it in overtime. And for me, and you go back and kind of do some of the play-by-play at the Green Bay game, that's where I think Mike McCarthy points to about Kellen Moore. And yeah, people say, well, they were top 10 offense, or this kind of stuff situationally, you got to lead. We can't have a 3-play drive. That takes off no time.
Did Pollard play that game?
Jacksonville, yes.
Yeah, the problem in that game was
Zeke was hurt.
Yeah, the problem is
the cornerback,
the other corner spot was bad.
Right, but they knew that. They were
that's why they were scoring so quickly.
They were experimenting on defense. They talked about they were experimenting on defense, getting ready to play.
To Newey's point, though, if you run a little bit, you have a little bit more success, get a couple first downs, you're out of there. You know.
Okay, so that all right.
I just hate judging stuff like that because it's like, okay, then that's the act like, okay, so there were no games that they won because of Kellen Moore's game plan. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I just think it kind of probably evens out. Like, so yeah, you can sit there and say, yeah, if Mike calls the plays against Green Bay, calls them against.
I just talking about game situation.
Right. No, and I get that, but I'm just saying that. But then also maybe you're losing some stuff that maybe Mike doesn't want to do that Kellen does that helped them win a couple games, you know?
Maybe.
I think they're going to be right about what they were last year when the regular season ends.
So for me, the thing that I find ironic about Mike and how Jerry finally got to this point is, remember when Wade got here? Wade wasn't calling defensive plays. Brian Stewart was. And he's like, well, I brought you here to do this, so you do it. Why wouldn't you? You've brought in a guy who won a Super Bowl calling plays. Why would you not want to do this other than there's still this, we don't want to let a guy we think is the next Sean Payton get out the building?
When you say why, are you talking about from Jerry's perspective or Mike's?
Jerry's? Jerry's perspective of why.
I can see being sold on the whole nucleus going back to the Friends thing, with Dak and Zeke, the whole, we've had this together and this has all kind of been a culmination of Dak continuing to get better. I feel like it was a Dak thing. That Jerry thought it would be best to, hey, let's just keep building on this. Him and Kellen are close. They see things similarly. Let's keep building on this. This is going to get us over the top.
But why? Okay, this is okay. Yes, I want this, but I'm not bringing in John in to do what John does.
Yeah,
it's in business,
Right.
he wouldn't do that.
I think, but
this is what they do, and I think it hurt.
But I think he also felt like, hey, well, now we got this guy, Mike McCarthy, who has been to the mountaintop. He has an offensive background. He can also help Kellen take him to the next level that maybe, he maxed out what he learned from Linehan and Garrett. And so now you bring in Mike McCarthy. He can add some more stuff. And then, to your point, maybe become what he thinks is the next Sean Payton.
He was in the lab in the barn in Wisconsin. He was
Yeah, I
doing
mean,
all this stuff,
it didn't make any sense, and I hear what you're saying, and that's what Mike said. They had this thing together. But to Newey's point, you're bringing Mike here because he's a Super Bowl winning coach. He was a Super Bowl winning coach as an offensive coordinator, head coach, and you're not bringing him to do what he does best.
Yeah.
And he's comparing it to Wade. You bring Wade in here because of his defensive acumen. He's one of the best 3-4 defensive coordinators on the planet, and he comes here and Brian Stewart's calling plays. He's not calling plays. That doesn't make any sense.
And there is a little bit of sense, though, because, again, you mentioned the business side of it, him operating in the business side, aside from football in his everyday life, Jerry Jones. I could also see him thinking that over that period with Jason Garrett, that he might have felt like the walk-around head coach was more of the way to go. We can disagree with it, but I'm saying I'm wondering, or I'm not wondering, I bet that he felt like this would probably be a good idea.
Again, that's the problem with Jerry, though. Because he's so wishy-washy.
Right.
And
absolutely.
So the problem is that you don't decide what's best for your coach. You let your coach do what's best.
True.
And that's what he's trying to say. You don't decide, you need to be a walk around there. Yes, we believe. No one wants to say it out loud, and certainly Mike McCarthy will say that I wanted Kellen here, but we know that Kellen was here at the behest of Jerry Jones.
Denver. You know what they're doing with Sean Payton. Come on in here, call these plays, do what you do. And how many times have people looked at the coaching records of Sean and Mike and talked about them being kind of right there in that same realm and same Super Bowls? That's the thing I didn't get. And anyway, it's just stuff that, hey, it's the Cowboys and how they operate. We know that Jerry is he likes having certain guys around, and he pushes for certain people. And as these coaches come in here, sometimes we see some of the same assistant coaches. We see some of the same staff behind the scenes. And I just feel like Mike McCarthy was brought here, and he comes up, I was going to hire Kellen Moore, I just feel like he just told us something that sounded good. Because if I'm bringing in a guy who's been able to coach two guys that are Hall of Fame level and win a Super Bowl, I want that guy. Go bring me that secret sauce. You go cook this meal. Don't tell me, man, Kellen's cooking. I'm just give him some mushrooms. I'm gonna tell him what to do. You cook it. You go give me what you've got.
But maybe like when you say about the Sean Payton thing, maybe he was more dug in on that as opposed to maybe Mike McCarthy wasn't. It doesn't sound like Mike McCarthy was as dug in on, I'm calling the plays immediately. Yes, it was part of the, hey, I want the job, but also the fact of, I'm sure he was fine with kind of like, well, I'll be more of the overseeing everything. I'll bring in things that I learned from Green Bay, where I was just focused on offense, and I can add in a little bit more. I don't think that he came in saying like, well, no, I want to be calling the plays, or I don't want this job. I don't think that conversation ever even happened.
If Norv Turner had been more like, hey, all right, Jason can call the plays, I think Norv Turner would have been the head coach here, not Wade Phillips. Because remember, Jerry had already hired Jason to call the plays. It's just, I just find it very interesting, if not in some ways. I don't understand why you would go about your business that way when I want to bring in a guy who does what he does. If I'm bringing in Jon Machota to sit up here and cover, I'm not going to ask you, John, hey, John, go cover the Stars today. John, go cover the Cowboys. That's what you do. I want you to do what you do.
All right, I'll give you another perspective
on
this. You take over play calling right away, day one. You don't have success those first 3 years. Bye. You're out. But you have kind of a buffer when there's somebody else there. It's kind of like when people step into a situation. Like, I'll give you Sean Payton. We'll use him as an example. The quarterback's the same way. You think if everything doesn't work with Russell Wilson, that they're going to be like, yeah, thanks, Sean, see you later. No, he'll get another chance. They'll let him draft a quarterback. So he gets a long tenure.
But you don't go in thinking you're going to, looking at it negative, thinking that I need this buffer in case I don't win. I mean.
Well, no, I'm not saying that I'm not saying you're going and thinking like that, but I'm just saying that it's not the worst plan. Also, the fact that if he didn't think that Kellen Moore could do the job, then I don't think he would have taken it. I think he felt good about Kellen being the offensive coordinator too, though.
This is a guy who didn't get the Jets job or the Browns job and was already out a year. At some point in time, you say what you need to get the job, right?
And he said that. Yeah. He said that at the press conference. I told Steven I watched every play last year, but I didn't.
For sure.
All right, we got to get out of here. Jon Machota, always appreciate the conversation. Same with you,
Clearence.
Hill.
Watch every play last year.
This is Media Mash. I'm Newy Scruggs. We'll talk to you next week.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys? Yeah!